Hi, my name is Chris Ryan and welcome to Las Colinas Golf Resort here in Spain, and welcome to this brand new video series on how you can fix your slice for good. This is going to be a 4-part series, with this being video number 1. We're going to be covering the setup, we're going to be covering the backswing, the downswing, and then video 4 is going to be looking at drills and ways that you can practice to get rid of that slice forever. We're going to be looking at and covering the common faults that I see through those different parts of the golf swing. We're going to be giving you tips, ideas and drills on how you can fix those. And if we can do that, I guarantee you'll be able to hit straighter drives, longer drives, and you'll be able to get rid of that slice for good. So thank you very much for joining me here at Las Colinas Golf Resort in Spain, and thank you for watching this video series on how you can fix your slice. As I've already said, this is going to be a 4-part video series, this being video number 1 covering the setup and actually what a slice is. Video number 2 is going to be looking at the backswing, video 3 the downswing, and then finishing up with some drills and some practice methods that you can use yourself to get rid of that slice. Now, it's really important that we say this at the start. What we cover in this video series, you're not going to go and try all of these things next time you go and practice. What I'm trying to do in this series is actually run through the common faults that I see through the golf swing, which can often lead to the slice. We know that actually what causes a slice down at impact is actually relatively simple. There's only a couple of things that happen which make that ball curve to the right. The difficulty here is actually trying to find the causes of those things. Why do those things happen at impact? So as I say, we're going to run through some of the common things that I see, and I really want you to use this video series as almost like a checklist, so you can go through this, checking these things off, making sure that you're doing them correctly. If you're not, it may well mean that you need to make a few changes in that particular area. And if we can maybe pick up 2 to 3 faults that you've got in your golf swing, we can maybe get rid of that slice forever. So video number 1, this video, is going to be looking initially at actually what is a slice, what causes a slice, and then we're going to look at some of the common faults that I see just at setup, which can already mean that the golfer gets off, unfortunately, to a poor start and brings in the right-hand side of the golf course. So what is a slice? What causes a slice? Well, for that, we need a target. So I'm going to pick my target down the middle of this 18th fairway here at Las Colinas, straight down the middle. That is what I'm trying to hit my golf ball towards. That's where my intended direction is. So a slice will be, well, it can be through 2 ways. But let's go through the main cause to begin with. So a slice will happen when, at the point of contact, my golf club is travelling significantly to the left of where I want the ball to go. So an out to in or a left club path. How much to the left will depend on the golfer, but generally for a slicer we tend to see a golf club which is travelling to the left of the target. When we have that golf club travelling to the left of the target, we have a club face which is excessively open to that path. So relative to where the golf club is travelling, the club face points too much to the right of that path. And because we have a difference between where the club is travelling and where the club is pointing, we get some curve. Because the club face is open to the path, that curve is to the right. And if those numbers get to a point where they're not manageable, we get too much curve and the ball finishes off to the right-hand side. You won't need me to tell you that this causes you to miss fairways, it causes you to lose golf balls, and it causes you to lose quite a bit of distance. So it's certainly something we would like to fix. Now, that being said, if the club face is open to my path, that will generally cause the ball to curve to the right. So I can actually slice the ball with a fairly neutral club path as well. So the club path could be travelling pretty much towards my target, but again, if the face is excessively open, we're going to get that ball curving to the right. So the common trend here is that the face is open to the path, but the path is very often left of target as well. And if we get that combination, that's when the slice will occur. Now, there is another way that we can slice the golf ball, and this one is all to do with contact. So with the driver, we have gearing effects, we have bulge and roll. So if I make contact from anywhere apart from the centre, I will get curve on that golf ball. So with the driver, and a 3-wood for that matter as well, if I hit towards the heel, so towards the inside of the golf club, that will create generally some left to right curve on the golf ball. So many of the golfers I see will maybe have some slice tendencies in their swing, but they will also strike towards the heel, which actually encourages that ball to move more to the right. So a heel strike can also create that left to right curve on the golf ball. We're going to go through in video 4 some things that you can do to monitor that strike and improve that strike, but just be aware that sometimes the contact can cause that shot as well. So now we know what a slice is. we're going to now start to look at some of the common things that I see in setup which can go towards creating that ball flight. So number one would be just a golfer who applies the hands in what we'd class as a weak fashion. So a weak fashion would be where either the top hand or the bottom hand are rotated too much underneath the golf club. So you can see how I took my left hand from a neutral position, I rotated it underneath the golf club to a weaker position. This weaker position could be in the left hand, it could be in the right hand, which is now rotated more on top, or it could well be that both the hands are rotated around to my left. So a weak grip would be the lead hand going under the club, or the trail hand going on top of the club. Or an easy way to think about it is from your viewpoint as the golfer, as you look down on the golf club, the hands will be rotated too much towards the target. So that would be in this direction here. So here's a really simple way that you can check your hold. You're going to take a tee peg. You're going to place that tee peg into the crease between the thumb and your index finger on your lead hand, and you're going to apply your lead hand to the golf club. Now, as I put the club up in front of me, that tee peg should be pointing pretty much down the club shaft towards the club head. And you can see how I can demonstrate that pretty well there. If I have got a weak hold where my top hand is rotated too much towards the target, you will see as when I pick that club up, the tee peg points in front of the club shaft. That little exercise would work with the trail hand as well. If my trail hand was too weak, again, as I pick the golf club up, you can see how the tee peg would point forward of the golf club. So if either of my hands is rotated too much towards the target, that tee peg will point forward of the club shaft. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to check your hold. I want you to take a tee peg, place it between the index finger and your thumb, place your hands on the golf club and see whether that tee peg points down the club or in front of the club. If it points in front of the golf club by any amount, there's a good chance that that hold is a little bit too weak. What a weak hold will do is it will effectively create the club face or cause the club face to rotate open too much in the backswing. Straight away we bring in the right hand side of the golf course into play. The golfer often then starts to add in some compensations. We maybe swing over the top, but the weak grip is often the cause of that shot. So there's our first little checkpoint. The second checkpoint will be to just check your body shape. So what should our body shape be with a driver? Well, as I take my starting position, I would like to see it set up. My lead hip is slightly higher than my trail hip, only by a small amount. And you can see as I do this little exercise, my lead hip gets bumped a little forward, which puts it a little higher than my trail hip. It therefore puts my lead shoulder a little bit higher than my trail shoulder, and it puts a nice amount of angle in my upper body. That is how I would like to set up for the driver. If I do that correctly, I should find that my upper body alignment is fairly neutral relative to my lower body alignment. This is a great way to set ourselves up with the driver. It's going to help us swing the club in a more efficient manner, and it's also going to help us as we start to want to hit more up with the driver versus down. Very often, many of the slicers that I see will have a setup where they will almost have the opposite. So the trail hip will be the one that's highest. The hips will almost be slightly backwards, and you can see how my upper body is tilted slightly towards the target. This would not be an uncommon starting position for the slicers that I see. You'll notice it's also moved the handle too far back behind the golf ball. And from the other angle, it's tended to get my body shape aiming a little bit more up the left-hand side of this hole here. This is going to promote an initial move away, which is too much on the outside. The golfer's either going to stay with that, or they're going to try and rotate the club a little bit too much inside. But we also see this golfer tends to want to be hitting down on the ball. They tend to want to be hitting across the golf ball, and they tend to then need to leave the face open in an attempt to get that ball back towards the target, but then we bring in the slice. So why does this setup happen? Well, generally it's because the trail hand is lower than the lead hand. So if I was to set myself up here, you can see my lead hand is on the golf club, but as I place my trail hand on, I want to feel like I bump my hips forwards to enable me to do that. A lot of golfers will simply back the hips up, move the head and the right shoulder forwards, and so we can get this position here. And this will often feel very comfortable, but you can see how that's really affected my body shape. And again, from here, we are really encouraging those poorer moves that we tend to see from the slicers. So really, the other thing would be just alignment, in just checking your alignment. So many of the golfers who slice the ball will actually aim excessively to the right of the target. And then what that does is it actually encourages them to then swing over the top to try and hit target. So the final thing I want you to do is just check your alignment. Now, I tend to use these alignment sticks. These are called Alignment Pro, but very, very simply, in practice, you can just use some alignment sticks or a golf club to ensure that you are setting yourself up and your alignment is good towards your target. So, I've got my hold on the golf club, which is correct. I have now got my alignment, which is correct, and I've got my body shape, which is correct. Once I've got those three things, my setup should at least not be causing my slice. And that's really our goal here, is to get a setup which is neutral, and then we can start to look at the golf swing. So let me go ahead and see if I can hit this fairway down on the 18th from here. Okay, and it's just turning up the left-hand side, certainly not a slice. I would take that drive. It might even give me a chance to have a go at this par 5 in 2. So let's look at the starting position. There may well be some telltale signs in there that you are a slicer of the golf ball. Go through that checklist. As I say, you're not trying to change everything. You're just looking to tick off what you do correct. Maybe make a note on the things that maybe you need to check. Go to the practice area, check those things, and then obviously video 2, we're going to progress into the backswing, covering some of the things that I tend to see the golfers do, which might cause that slice. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope this video is helpful. Make sure you do stay tuned for videos 2, 3, and 4. But usual stuff is down below. You've got a comments box down there, you've got a like button, and you've also got a link to subscribe over here. So if you're not a subscriber, click that link. Would love to have you as a free subscriber to my channel. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.